Hi everybody, Dave Lane, Councillor at Large in the City of St. John's here, and I'm answering the first of what I hope to be many weekly questions. And the first question is, why has the budget gone up 400% in the last 15 years? I guess the first point I'll make is that I'm not sure it has actually gone up 400%, but it can't be denied that the budget has gone up significantly over the past decade or so. So I'm going to answer that in basically four components. And the first one is salaries. Kind of like an elephant in the room, but it's important to talk about because it is a huge component of our budget, of any government's budget. These are the people that provide all the services that we demand and expect. And the reason they've been going up, and just go up in general, is because we make agreements with our staff, mostly unionized, about how much to compensate for the work that they do. And a unionized environment, in many cases, are associated and they look to other standards in other jurisdictions, or in our case, mostly to the provincial level. So there are influences outside of our control that change the way we compensate and the level at which we do so. But another big one that has happened related to that is our most recent salary negotiation was for 18% over 4 years. Now that's a lot of increase in a small amount of time, but there was a big benefit to the city and to the taxpayers for making that agreement. And that has to do with our pension plan. To date, all employees have been receiving a defined benefit pension plan. And that is essentially a plan whereby when you retire, you know how much money you're going to make per year that's paid by the city for the rest of your life. Now, when this first started, people weren't really living much longer after they retired, but people are retiring earlier today, and they're passing away much later, and that's a good thing. But what it means is now we have an unsustainable system whereby we continue to pay out for much longer, and we don't have as many people paying into that program. So this year, for example, we will have to pay over $9 million to cover that gap, and it's only going to get bigger. So by making that change to a defined contribution for every new employee means over the next 10 to 20 years, we will actually get rid of that continuously increasing cost to the taxpayers of the city. So that big increase was actually for a good long-term measure. So that's salaries. Then the second biggest component is something a lot of people don't know about, which is that our regional services, these are essential services that are shared by multiple communities, like water treatment and delivery, wastewater treatment, fire protection, and our waste management facility, which is Robin Hood Bay. They're shared expenses. But the thing is, because the City of St. John's is large enough to handle the administrative costs of doing these expenses, that gets put on our budget. So out of our over $300 million budget, $70 million of that is for these regional services, but only 40 of that are actually paid for by the largest metropolis, which is the City of St. John's. So in other words, as that budget grows, that 70 million grows, as the population, and of course every municipality around us has actually been growing faster than us. That grows faster, our budget grows faster, but actually we get a huge chunk of that back. So we think it's growing faster than it actually is. So that's another big one, that regional services are not really all included in our budget. The third one is that our demand for amenities and services, the public's demand, has been changing and basically increasing. Times have really changed. We've had a lot of investment from developers and from oil and gas companies and from tourism increases, and we need to adapt to those demands. It's a good thing. Our standards of living are going up, but it means that we need some essential services like water, so we actually had to add a new facility called Petty Harbor Long Pond, and that cost millions of dollars to build. Some of it was funded by grants or by loans, but even as we pay those loans back, which is an increased cost, we also have to operate this new facility. And that means we've added new expenses to our yearly budget, sometimes not considered when we build a new facility. The same thing goes for the new recreation facility in Wedgwood Park, and even Bannerman Park, a lot of which was paid for by community contributions. It has a higher maintenance cost now, so we have to take care of the loop. We have to take care of the new pool house. So these are things that also help increase the budget. And the fourth one is decision making, and that's probably where that question was going. Why is it increasing so much? Why are you making decisions to increase the budget? So while the first three are in a sense a little out of our control for decision making, so to speak, it is very important that we focus on what do we say yes to and how do we decide what needs to be expended. Now, as we look at all this new investment and the higher salaries and the higher standards in our city, and that means increased revenue and increased demands. And we've had a challenge, I would say, although I hope it has been meeting that challenge of changing how we provide those services and meet that demand. Now, we've actually changed the structure at City Hall over the past probably 5 to 6 years in terms of reporting and departments, and I would say that's almost complete. We have had a complete turnover of top-level management, mostly of people who have been in the organization for some time, but they have a new outlook. They have the experience, but they're now guided by a new corporate strategic plan. It's publicly available, and what that does is it sets a vision and sets some core focus and direction for what we need to be doing day to day to be spending taxpayer dollars and providing services. So through that, one of the big objectives is fiscal responsibility, which might sound obvious, and I hope that it is. But in a big organization, we need to have processes and a culture that enable fiscal responsibility to really be taking place. What does that even mean, to have fiscal responsibility? And so here's some things that we've done. One is that we've moved to a 3-year budgeting process, which means instead of every year just looking at how much did we spend and how much do we think we're going to have to spend next year, we actually say what has changed. What does the forecast hold for housing prices or demands or how much revenue we're going to receive? And we make a longer term plan for how to spend money. That way we can be strategic and we can actually adapt a bit better than the year to year, which is mostly reactive. As well, getting a bit more technical, we actually have in bureaucracy quarterly variance reports. Again, technical, but what that does is it's management and our finance department asking, why do you need a different budget in your department this year? Justify it. Go down through the explanation instead of just saying, well, it's another year, I need 2% more. As well, we have what's called a weekly purchase review where we say, why did you buy this or why do you need it? And is that really the best price? And do you really need to make that purchase? And all of these things are making staff think differently about making decisions. And a lot of them are really embracing it, and there's a real pride. I see it, and I've been told by many on staff, there's a pride in the improvements we're making. We're taking more ownership at the staff level over decision making and really thinking critically and being really in charge of how we spend taxpayer dollars. So it's an exciting time, and you can already see that. We had a major initiative called the Program Review. You probably heard about it very recently, where we've announced that we were able to find millions of dollars in savings through looking critically at how we make decisions. And a full-fledged program review like that hasn't been done, certainly in the past couple of decades. So we are seeing a major change in the way we operate at City Hall, and it's really starting to bear fruit, and it's just the beginning. So with that in mind, hopefully that answers your question. It's salaries, it's regional services, it's increased demand, and it's the way we make decisions. And I think things are getting better. I'm very confident in that. Please share this with anyone you think would find it interesting or valuable. And of course, this is intended to be a weekly question, and I'm happy to answer any questions and share information with you at any time. So I look forward to it, and leave comments in any way you can, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or even email. Thanks so much.